Using the opponent's strength to its fullest. It's not strength versus strength.
Hello, welcome to a review of Rurouni Kenshin, or Samurai X, the original 1996 anime that ran for 3 seasons. Considered a must-watch by most anime fans, the anime follows the adventures of a wandering swordsman known as Rurouni Kenshin in 1878 during the new modernized Meiji period of Japan. What? You don't know what that is? Hold on, I see a chance to be pretentious. For those of you who don't know, before the Meiji Restoration of 1868, Japan was in a feudalized era of the Tokugawa, which was a period of violence and isolation from the rest of the world. It's this 1868 shift into modernization and more peaceful times that's the major theme behind the entire series. Anyway, Kenshin used to be known as the Batosai, the most feared assassin of the previous era. But he decided never to kill again as he fights only with his reverse blade sword. He meets and lives with an orphaned sword teacher named Karu, and he must learn to live in a modernized world where violence is no longer the answer to everything. Let me say off the bat that this was a very enjoyable anime, mostly because of the 5 main characters. Kenshin, Kaoru, Sanosuke, Megumi, and Yahiko are all memorable and likable in some way. Kenshin isn't your standard male anime protagonist. He isn't rude, rebellious, loud, or outgoing. He's usually quiet, a pacifist, good-natured, and well-liked by everybody. But he can immediately become serious and focused in seconds. Most of the drama in the show comes from watching him try to fight without releasing the violent manslayer within him, as he, like Japan, must learn to modernize by becoming more peaceful in the new world. He's a lot like a young Yoda, right down to the speech patterns.
It's not a regular Japanese sword, indeed it isn't.
Of course, Kenshin may lose badassery points for wearing pink, but I'm pretty sure this was done on purpose in order to soften his character. There isn't much to say about Megumi, Yahiko, or Karu. They're all a little bland, who still fit in well and they're likable in their own way. Sanosuke is a Rocky-like character, as a guy who fights only with his fists and a lot of heart. But we've seen this character already. The most notable comparison to me is Roronoa Zoro from One Piece. Also, the first episode we see him, he uses a giant-ass sword that's used to cut horses. But after that episode, he never uses it again, which is pretty lame. Obviously, there's a lot of characters in the anime, and while a lot of them are cool and memorable in their own right, many don't get enough screen time, as the anime isn't that long. The theme of redemption and pacifism is present in the anime, and it has a really calm demeanor most of the time. The first season is all exposition, explaining how the characters all come together and how they interact, as the audience really gets attached to them. Some might argue that the first season is weak because it's basically a villain of the week thing, but I like the way they handled it because they did a good job of introducing concepts and characterizations that were expanded upon in the second season. The second season is story-driven and definitely the climax of the show, as Kenshin and company have to stop the insanely powerful Shishio from taking over Japan. The third season, however, I didn't watch, because it didn't follow the original manga, and no one had anything good to say about it at all, so forget that noise. The battles in the show are better than average because they're a little more strategy focused than other animes. A show like Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, and One Piece all have over-the-top action, but it's nice to see a show that tries to stay a bit more grounded in reality. And this realism makes it more compelling to watch because you feel like the characters are in more danger when they take injuries. The animation itself is really good, and I don't have much to complain about. Except before Kenshin talked, I still wasn't sure if he was a boy or a girl. I'm just saying. Another thing I liked about the anime was the balance they kept between the light-hearted everyday lives of the characters and the bloody and violent fights. Once again, a reflection of the delicate shifts between feudalism and modernization. The only real issue I had with the series was lack of focus throughout any part of the show that wasn't the second season. And the ending to the anime series was pretty dull and didn't close the story well at all. For those reasons, I wouldn't call this one of my favorite animes of all time, but it was certainly a very good one. I'd suggest watching this if you like action and some bloodshed, but don't mind the rather slower pacing. If you watch the series, I'd watch the OVA, Trust and Betrayal first, because it's an excellent prequel to the events of the show and a damn good movie itself. But I'd also suggest not watching the other OVA, Reflection, because it's a non-canon and pretty bad ending to the series, as a melodrama that even the show's creator condemned. In conclusion, if you want a simple but memorable anime that has a calmer pace and storyline, then look no further. Throw in some great writing and a dubbing cast that won't make your ears bleed, and you'll find that this anime is gonna stick with you. Well, anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.